Okay, everyone, let's get started. So, if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, we did a lesson on derivatives, which is this one, but we didn't get to finish it because there was a time constraint. And so today we're going to go over a few review of derivatives. We're going to go over options and futures again, and then in the end, we will do credit default swaps. So, should I get started?
Sure.
All right. Now, who remembers what a future is? Does anyone remember what we talked about for futures? Yes, Leo.
It's a contract that gives you the right to buy a certain commodity at a certain price that's agreed upon.
Yeah, so it's a contract, right, that lets you buy a certain asset or a commodity in the future for a certain price. So let's say I have this futures contract here, right? And let's say I make it with Nagar. So Nagar has, let's say you have, it says corn, right? You have 1,000 bushels of corn, and I need corn in the future, right? But the price of corn is always going to be fluctuating. It's going to have volatility. So in order to hedge that volatility, in order to like hedge my risk, right, I will draw a futures contract with her. So I will say, so we will draw this contract, right? I will pay you and say, let's say a year from now, you have to sell me 1,000 bushels of corn at $1, right? Regardless of what the market price is. And that's what basically a futures contract is. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, let's keep going. Did you have an example for futures?
Yeah, I did. With the corn, actually.
Oh, sorry. Here you go. Do your example.
Okay, so with this futures contract, let's say I give it to Chris, right? And I sell him 1,000 bushels of corn for $4,200, right? And then the predetermined price that we agree upon is $4,200, right? But the spot price at the time of the agreement, which is the predetermined date, right, is $3,000, right? So the long investor has to now pay me, long meaning that he bought it from me, right? I'm short, which means I'm selling the contract, right? And he's long buying the contract. The spot price is $3,000 now. And we agreed to settle this in cash, right? Which is not physical delivery, which some commodities are traded in, right? Cash is used for speculative futures contract trading, right? So the spot price, which is the current market price, is $3,000. I agreed to sell him at $4,200, and we agree that we settle it in cash. So then he pays me $1,200, which is the difference between spot price and the predetermined price, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So he's just talking about like physical delivery versus cash settlement, right? So in a physical delivery, like Chris will actually give me the corn, and if you're working on Wall Street, you don't actually want the corn to come to your firm, right? You just want them to pay you the money because you're just making a bet. So in this case, Philip was using a cash settlement. That makes sense? All right, let's move on then. So we'll do our current event today. If you remember, about a month ago, I posted a current event that talks about water futures are now being traded, right? So what that means is Wall Street can now trade water. They can speculate on the price of water through a futures contract, right? And to start off, I want to give everyone an idea of how much water we use. So for reference, this is about 1 liter of water, right? Now, how much water do you think it goes into the production of this hamburger? Take a guess. Theo. How many liters? 20. 20. Low. Yes. 5 liters. So five of this to produce this. 100. No.
Higher or lower?
Higher, much higher.
It's like 5,000.
You're closer, but half that. So on average, right, this hamburger will take 2,500 liters to produce.
Each like individual one.
2,500, yes, each hamburger.
The cow drinks lots of water,
Yeah.
right?
It's not just the water content that's in here. Like the water content that's in here.
The
could be,
virtual
yeah.
water, the water footprint.
Tiger, sorry, I have to interrupt.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Okay, continue, Tiger.
Dear, you should know this.
I forgot.
I just shake my head just a little bit. Now I'm back. You can continue, Tiger.
So that's just a reference of how much water we use as humans, right? This hamburger costs 2,500 liters of water to produce, this is 1 liter, right? 2,500 of this. Now let's say this wool sweater. How much water do you think goes into it? Remember, it's not just the water, right? It's the water that goes into producing it. You got to grow the cotton. You got to feed the machinery, the energy that takes to produce it, right? The transportation. How much water do you think takes to produce a sweater? 1 sec. Harry, how much water?
10,000 liters.
Lower. Yes.
1,000.
1,000? 4? Pardon? What was it?
1,000.
1,000. Okay, one more.
5,000.
So this one, it's about 2,700 liters to produce, right? And the last question is, how much water do you think we as Canadians per person use per year? How much water?
Way too much.
Think about it 1 sec, right? Think about everything that you do that requires water, right? A toilet flush, drinking water. Drinking water is actually a very small amount of the water we use, right? The shopping, the stuff that goes into making the stuff we use. Every minute you spend showering, you use about 1 liter of water. Watering your lawns. Yes, Leo, how much water do you think we use per year?
2 million liters.
Pardon?
2 million liters.
2 million? Too high. Yes.
25,000.
Too low. If you think about it, 25,000 is just 10 of these burgers. Yes.
250,000 liters per year.
155,000 liters per year, right? And the thing is, now, right? Water is becoming scarce. Water is a resource that we cannot produce. We cannot make more of it, right? There's a finite amount, and our need for water is growing as people get richer. So this has given rise to something called water futures, right? And my question to you is, do you think water futures are ethical, and do you think they are a good thing for the market? So let's start with the advantages. What are one advantage of water futures being traded, besides making money? What's one advantage? Yes.
So if you're like a farmer and you need water and you're not sure about like the temperature conditions that like next year, you can have an agreement with someone who can like hedge the volatility.
Yes. Right. That's one advantage, right? That's like the whole point of a futures contract. You want to hedge your bet. You want to like take care of the volatility, right? So if you're a farmer and you don't know if there's going to be a drought next year, right? You can lock in the price for water by buying a futures contract, right? So you know you have water at a set price for next year. What's one other advantage? Let's think of this environmentally. Why would trading water futures be a good thing for the environment? Leo.
I don't know.
Monica.
Can I
Yes.
use an example, Tiger?
Yeah.
Who in here, their parents have ever been, let me finish, a car accident or have rented a car? Any of your parents in here rented a car, or they've been in a car accident and got in a loaner car? How do you treat your loaner car generally? How do you treat it? Better or worse than your own car? You treat it better? Well, then you guys are angels, because
Yeah.
most people treat it what?
Like
Worse.
trash.
Worse. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna drive a little faster. I'm gonna take the turn a little quicker. Let's see how fast this thing goes. Okay? Because they don't own it. Why would you treat your own car better?
Because it's expensive if you break it.
And what else? You want it to
Maintain it.
Yeah, you want it to last as long as possible. Now take that analogy to water.
Yeah, so what he's saying is, we need to put a price on water, right? So people aren't just using water like it's worth nothing. Because right now our water use, not ours, but like, say down in America, right, where water futures are starting being traded. They're being traded in California right now, because California has water scarcity problems, right? This might actually be a good thing, because it puts a price on water, right? To get rid of inefficient uses. For example, a lot of our alfalfa, which is eaten by cows, right, for beef, they're grown in deserts, which doesn't make sense at all, right? It's inefficient. If we put a price on water, that actually might make the system more efficient, right? So inefficient farming practices and production practices will no longer exist. Now, what's one negative of putting a price on water? Yes?
Some people may believe that water should be a free resource for everybody.
Yeah. So water, right, it's essential. It's not like oil.
Right.
You can kind of live without oil. But water, you need water, right?
It could be a human right. That
Yeah, it should be a
free.
human right. It should. That's debatable. Because,
Right. It's debatable for different
We,
people.
we talk about this in class about where Canada wouldn't sign on to saying that water is a human right because we have so much water, right? The moment we say water is a human right, then we have to give it to people who can't afford it, right? Okay, does water future make sense? Is there any contributions that you would like to make? Any opinions? Nagar, give me your opinion.
I feel like this would be really problematic in the future because there'd be a lot of uneven distribution of water. So the wealthy countries would be the prominent consumers, will be
how would that be different from oil, let's say, right? Because oil, it's unevenly distributed across the world, like water, right? How would it be different from oil?
Are you gonna go?
No, you can finish your point. No, okay.
Oh.
Because we need oil. Because we need water, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be distributed evenly.
Yeah, water is the one resource that we definitely need, right? Fossil fuels, we can phase out of it, right? We're moving into renewables, or you can use less of it. But water, we need water to survive. Leo, did you have your hand up for a point?
The name's not Leo.
Ryan, yes, Ryan, you.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the question is like, are the water prices like maintained like across the world at the same price?
Pardon?
Are the water futures at the same price across the world?
I don't know yet. Maybe not. Because I know for oil, right, prices are different for different types of oil. Like there's WTI, which is Western Texas Intermediate, and there's like Brent crude, which is like the British oil. So oil prices, oil is different. Like I know Canadian oil sells for cheaper than American oil, like quality, but I don't know for water yet. But I know right now it's only in California where the water futures are being used. Yes.
Yes, I think water futures are fine because there's also corn futures, soybean futures, like wheat futures, and those are all like food. And I think putting a price on it would be better. We could like use it more efficiently and actually save water.
Yeah, I see your point. But the key difference to understand here is like we need water, right? Like corn futures, if you can't afford corn, you can find an alternative, right? Water, there is no alternative for it. Yes.
In a way, a water future or the price of water can be like, I guess not an index, but something that charts like agriculture, because without water, agriculture will go down. People won't be able to produce as many apples, for example.
Yeah.
So
we-
it'll be important in the economy to look at.
We talked about this concept when we first went over this, right? How commodity prices can be priced better than stocks, right? Because stocks can be too high priced, too highly priced, or too lowly priced because people keep buying or selling them, right? But commodity, there's a set price for a commodity, like water, right? Or say beef. Beef ends up on the consumer's table, so there's actually a price for it. And second, you can actually calculate, you can kind of forecast the price for beef, right? For example, cows eat alfalfa or corn, right? If the price of alfalfa or corn goes up, you can see how the price of beef will go up, right? Alfalfa and corn uses water, and they compete for acreage, right? So alfalfa and corn, more alfalfa means less corn because they compete for the same acreage, right? So you can see those direct correlations and those links of like cause and effect in the supply chains. Does that make sense for commodities? Right. Now,
One more thing for water futures. Futures may cause scarcity in developing countries, right? And that is also linked to energy and food, right? For the food, energy, water nexus, right? So all of them are interconnected. So if there's a scarcity of water, it may put a strain on energy and food production in that country, right? Negatively impacting them.
this is what we're talking about
Right.
geo class.
Yeah.
Food, water, nexus.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm cringing.
Yep. All right, example. Where did the example? So options contract. Now, options contracts are kind of similar to a futures contract, right? In that, but the only difference is it's that one party has the option to back out of it, right? Like for example, if I draw up a contract with Nagar for corn, right? That futures contract will be executed, right? Meaning at the end, I will pay her money and she will give me corn, right? If I don't want the futures contract anymore, then I'll sell the contract, right? But in the end, that contract will be executed. Now, for something called an option, right? The contract does not have to be executed. So, here. What the option allows you to do is that it gives you the right to buy shares, right? Like, let's say for example right here, we have 100 shares of Bolo Stand, right? From Bolognese Lasagna Court. Let's say Chris has these shares, right? And let's say they are trading at $106. Actually, the example is for Starbucks. Let's pretend that's Starbucks shares, right? Let's say one share of Starbucks is trading at $106, right? $0.5. And what will happen is, I want to buy the shares of Starbucks, right? But instead of buying it, I'll buy an options contract for it. So what that means is, me and Chris will come together, we'll draw up the contract, right? So what will happen is, let's say any time from now until the next 5 months, right? I have the option of buying shares from Chris, right? For $125. Does that make sense? So right now it's trading at 106.5, right? So any time from now until 5 months later, I have the option of buying shares, Starbucks shares, right, from Chris for $125, and that's a strike price, meaning the price that the transaction would happen at, right? So anytime in the next 5 months, I can take this paper to Chris and say, Chris, you have to sell me that share for $125, right? And what would happen is Chris will sell me this options contract for $10, right? That's the premium. So Chris can back out of this deal, right? So he wants something for the risk that he's taking on. So he will say, okay, I'll sell you this option contract. So anytime in the next 5 months, I'll give you the option of coming to me and buying 100 shares, right? But I'll charge you $10 for it. Does that make sense? And we'll just do some examples here on the board. So, actually before we go into that, let's talk about we'll do usage options later. So what goes into pricing an option? There's 3 things that goes into pricing an option that we talked about, if you remember it. What's one thing that goes into pricing it?
Time.
Time, yes, time, that's one of them, yes.
Volatility of the stock.
Volatility, implied volatility. What's the last one? Nope, someone else. Monica, what do you think is the last thing that will go into pricing an option? So for option, there's a couple of factors, right? There's one's the strike price, meaning the transaction that the price will happen at, right?
Yeah.
The other one is time, because more time means more things can happen, right? He's taking on a bigger risk. So the longer the time, you'll charge me more, right? And then there's implied volatility. So the more volatile, meaning the more movement the stock has, right? The more expensive the option will be. What's the last one that goes into pricing? Pardon?
I don't know.
It's okay, Harry.
Is it like the price of the stock itself?
No. Yes, but no. Yes.
Wouldn't it just be like analysis of the company, how it's doing?
Not necessarily. Yeah.
Like the volume of the stock, how much we want to buy the options.
No. I'm going to go with strike price. Right? So the 3 things that go into pricing an option are 1, strike price, time, and implied volatility, right? And we'll just go here. So, can you guys see this here? This might look intimidating, but don't worry about it, right? So, here's a couple of things on here, right? This is an options chain for Starbucks, right? Expiring on July 16th. Right, so let's say 120. Let's take this option right here, right? This 120 option. So Starbucks right now is trading at 106, right? So this 120 option means, so this price down the middle means the strike price, right? Meaning the price at which the transaction will happen. So for our option, it was 125, right? So the strike price was 125. Any time from now until 5 months later, I have the option to buy shares from him for $125, right? So that's the strike price. And there's a couple of things. There's the bid, the ask, which is the seller's bidding, the buyer's bidding, and the seller's asking price, right? And there's the change, which is how much it has changed. And the open interest represents how many options are open right now, right? So how many options are out there. Let's talk about one thing first. Do you guys know what a bid-ask spread is? Yes.
Just a bid and ask. I think I know what it is.
Yeah, and how separate they are, right? So when you go buy something, you'll make a bid, right? You'll make a bid for it. And when you go sell something, you'll make an ask for it, right? For stocks, usually there won't be that big of a bid-ask spread. Do you want to know why? Why is there not a bid-ask spread for stocks, or very insignificant? Yes, Leo.
There's so many people.
Yeah, there's so much liquidity, right? There's so many people trading it that there won't be a bid-ask spread. So instead, you can't ask for your price in stocks, right? You'll just take the market price. You're a price taker. You can't make your own price, right? Because if you go higher, if you sell higher than the highest ask, right, your trade won't be executed. Or if you bid lower than the lowest bid, the highest bid, your bid won't be executed, right? So you need to take the market price. Like for example, illiquid assets, right, have big bid-ask spreads. Like for example, houses, right, they have bigger bid-ask spreads. Like the seller and the buyer, right, they negotiate, right? There's room to negotiate because it's an illiquid asset, right? It's less liquidity. But for stocks, there won't be much of a bid-ask spread, or 0, right? But for options, there's less liquidity than there is for stocks, right? So there will be a bit of a bid-ask spread. Now, let's ignore this for a sec, right? Because this example doesn't make that much sense. Let's say right here, right? Can you guys see this graph? Let's say Starbucks is trading at $106, $106.5 today, right? Right now. In 5 months from now, there's 2 things that can happen. There's 2 scenarios, right? One, either Starbucks goes to $160, or Starbucks falls to $53.25, right? So let's say you were to go long on the stock. Let's say you buy the stock. In the first scenario, how much money will you make?
Around $54.
Yeah, so 160 minus 106.5, right? So if you buy this stock, your payout ratio, your profit and losses diagram will be here, right? So let's say this right here, it's price of Starbucks, right? This is 106, right? This means Starbucks price goes up. For every dollar that Starbucks price goes up beyond 106, you make a dollar profit, right? Does that make sense? This black line over here represents your profit and losses in relation to your price, right? Does that make sense? And for every dollar that the price goes down, you lose a dollar, right? At 106. So, let's say in scenario 1, right? In blue scenario, you will make whatever the difference is here, right? But let's say Starbucks price goes down from 106.5 to 53.25. How much money will you make or lose? Yes?
You will lose like a bit more than $53.
Yeah, you will make whatever the 106.5 minus 53.5 is, right? So you have it here. We have the long, right? Here's your here's your losses. We're getting this in either scenario, right? But let's say going short a stock. So we're just going to do a review of what shorting a stock means, right? What does shorting a stock mean? Monica, what does it mean to short a stock?
It's like when you buy a stock at a price because you think it's going to go down, or you borrow it, so you borrow a stock, you think it's going to go down, and then you sell it to someone else, and then when it goes down, you buy it back, and then something like that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it means to short a stock, right? So what happened is, let's say right now, right, at $106.5, you borrow the stock. Let's say, where's shares? Did you have the shares? Shares, right? Let's say this represents Starbucks stock, and Chris has it, right? So what I'll do is I'll borrow Chris's stock. I'll sell it right now for under $6.5, right? And let's say I sell it to Philip, right? And my hope is that 5 months later, the stock price will fall, right? Let's say it falls to $53.25, right? So I buy back from Philip for $53.25, and I give it back to Chris. So I pocket the difference of it going down, right? So I borrow it, I sold it at a high price, and then bought it back at a low price, and then gave it back, right? So let's say right here, right? This is two P&L graphs. Which line do you think represents your profit and losses in relation to the stock's price for shorting a stock? Dio, which line? There's 4 lines here, right? There's this purple, black, and then 2 black here. Which line do you think represents shorting a stock?
I'm not sure.
It's okay, Harry.
I think it's the one that goes downwards and then
Which one?
stops.
This one or this one?
Yeah, that one.
The one? This one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not this one. This one, it's the put option. Yes.
It's the one, it's on the bottom graph, the one that goes diagonal through
This one?
106.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one, right? For every dollar the share goes above 106, you lose a dollar, right? Because you have to buy it back and return it at a higher price than you sold it at first, right? So the graph is sloping downwards. The most that you can make, what's the most that you can make from this trade for shorting? Negar.
For shorting?
Yeah, what's the most you can make? It's trading at $106.5 right now, right? What's the most you can make by shorting it?
Like 53?
No, forget the scenario, right? What's the most? Yeah, $106, right? The most that you can make from this trade is it goes to 0 and you don't need to return, right? But in this scenario, the most you can make is 53.25, right? Now, again, I'll just do a quick summary, right? So for shorting, the biggest risk is that technically you have infinite losses, right? Because stock can go to infinity, like theoretically, and then your losses are infinite, right? If you buy a stock, the most that you can lose is $106. It goes to 0, you lose everything. But your gains are potentially unlimited, right? But for shorting, it's the opposite. Now, let's get into the complicated one. Call option, right? So to start, is there anything that doesn't make sense about call option right now? Is there any questions? Yeah.
If you have do you have a call option or do you buy either?
So a call option is called a derivative, right? It's not a physical asset. Like for example, we can draw up a call option right now. We can just make one out of thin air, right? Its value is derived from the asset itself. So that's why it's called a derivative, right?
So if we derive one, like say you derive it, I don't know the term, but like do you have to use it or can you just
No, you don't need to use it.
It's optional.
It's optional,
So it's
right?
okay.
So no, but here's the thing, right? Let's say you sold me this call option, right? If I come to you and I want to buy the stock from you, you need to sell it to me. You don't have the option to back me up. But I have the option of not coming to you. I can let this option expire worthless, right? But if I go to her, so she sold me the option, right? If I go to her and ask for the shares, she has to sell it to me. Like if I give you this, right?
But then how do I
Through the premium. You make money
benefit?
through the premium.
Yeah, so how do you benefit from this? It's I'll pay you the premium, right? So I'll buy this option from you for for the premium, right? It's $10. So for futures, I'm not necessarily paying you premium, right? So for futures, both sides are kind of even in this trade, right? For futures, it means this trade has to go through, right? So we're
Right,
kind of
yeah,
even.
yeah.
But for an option, the person that buys it has the option of backing out, right? I don't need to exercise my option. So in order to compensate for the risk you're taking, I pay you the premium, right? And premium, you'll see here, it's this 3 bars, right? So this is bid ask. So it's price of the option. That's a premium, right? Bid ask, last, and change, right? So this is like the bid ask for the option, right? So let's say 100, right? What that means, and then $11.40, and the last trade was $11.40. So what that means is someone paid $11.40, right, to have the option of buying Starbucks at $100 per share from now until July 19th. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into it. The payout for a call option. So, does anyone know which of these 4 lines will be the payout for a call option? Oh, I'm not picking you guys. Sorry. Not because I don't like you guys. Just here.
It's the purple one.
Yeah, the purple line represents the P&L of the call option, right? So let's say this call option right here. Let's say this call option allows me to have the right to buy Starbucks shares from whoever I bought this option from. Let's say I got the option from you, right? Let's say this represents Starbucks stock, right? So you have this. And you sell me this option, right? So we come together and we make this option up. And what this option says is, any time from now until when the option expires, which is July 16th, right? I can come to you, I can give you this piece of paper, and you need to sell me 100 shares for $125, which is the strike price, right? The price down the middle, right there, right? And I'll pay you $10 for this. Does that make sense to everyone? So paying $10 for the option, right? Now let's say the stock goes to 160. How much money do I make from a call option? I mean, the answer is right there. No, 33. $33, right? So call option, it goes to 160, you make $33. How does that $33 come from? Where does it come from? Yes, Chris.
160 minus 106.5 minus 10 for the premium.
No, price is 160, right?
Right.
How do I make money from this call option?
By choosing to buy it at 106, and then if it goes up, you can sell it. But you've also got to consider the premium cost.
Yeah, so what will happen is it goes to $160, right? So let's say 6 months from now, at July 16th, right? This thing, right now it's worth $106, right? It goes to $160, right? But I have this options contract that says I can buy these shares from her for $125. Would I exercise this option or not? Dia, would I exercise the option?
Wait, can you say again?
So, right, when this option was made up, right? Starbucks was trading at $106.50, right? And I made this option with her that says any time from now until July 16th, when the option expires, right? I have the option of coming to her, so I'll give you this paper, and you have to sell me shares for $125, right? Let's say it's 6 months later and Starbucks is trading at $160. Would I exercise this option, or would I let it expire worthless? Why would I exercise it? Yeah, so I can come to her and she actually sell it to me, right, at $125. But the market is trading at $160, right? So I can,
What's another word for like some of the stuff you guys, I've said this before, is way above what most people know in the world. What's an option? What's a simple name for an option?
Optional.
No.
You can choose.
I promise. Okay? It's almost like a promise.
It's not a future.
Sorry?
no, future
Depend-
means both sides have to go through.
Yeah,
Or the
it's like
seller
it's
is
like a
promised.
promise for someone. Okay? It's like you've written a little agreement for yourself. Using the term options, that is the correct term. But just to simplify in your head what it might mean, try and use simple words to make the connections. All right? Sorry, this is from someone that, Philip, I was in the business for over 10 years. So I'm sitting there going like, wow, these guys, like you're talking about things that are way above most people's heads. Sorry, Philip.
Can you go on your speaker? It's like a little black thing.
Where is it?
I don't know.
What do you?
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it then. It's a speaker. It's fine. Speakers are not important. Stock screen. Okay, so the strike price, right? Now, let's say the stock is trading at $125, right? Would I make money from exercising the option? Nathan.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Let's say instead of the stock trading at $160, right? So this represents the stock, the price of the stock at any point, right? So this is 106, 125, 135. Would I make money at $125? Let's say the stock's trading at 125, right? Would I make money from the option?
Wait, how much did you buy them for?
So $10. So I have the option of coming to you to buy it from 125, right? And let's say it's trading at 125 right now. So and I exercise this option. Would I make money or would I lose money?
You lose
How much money do I lose?
$10.
Yeah, right. Because even though I can buy from her for 125, right, and break even on the trade, I paid $10 for this option, right? So what is the minimum price necessary for you to make money on this contract? Or break even? What's the break even price? Yes.
$135.
Yeah, $135. It's how much money you need for the stock to be to break even, right? Because you got to buy from her for 125, right? And you paid her the $10 for the premium. So 125, it's when you start to not lose money, right? It's when you start to slope up. And 135 is the price you break even. And at any point from there, every dollar that goes above 135, it's your profit, right? Now, let's say in this scenario, what is the maximum loss possible for this options contract? So what's the most I can lose, Leo? $10. Why it's the maximum loss $10, right? Let's say I buy the stock, right? It goes to $0, I lose 106. Why is it that I bought a call option, I only lose $10? Yeah, I don't need to exercise this option, right? Which is why you see for call options, your losses are capped off. So this right here, this is $10. This represents your premium, right? How much you pay for the option. Because let's say the strike price says I can go to her and buy for $125, right? If the stock goes to 53.25, I just won't exercise the option. I just won't come to you and buy for 125, right? Because I can go to the market and buy for cheaper. So I just let this option expire worthless. And the most money that I lose, it's the money I paid for her for the premium, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. Let's go to the next one. Put options, which gives me the ability to sell to someone, right? So let's say this, so this is a call, right? And this, it's the put option. And what that means is, let's say I have this stock, right? So any time from now until the expiration, which is 5 months later, I have the option of selling you shares, right? For a set price. So let's say this right here, right? The strike price is 110 and it's $14.15, right? So it costs $14.15 and the strike price is 110. So what that means is any time now until the expiration date, right? I have the option of selling you stock and you must buy from me for the strike price, which is $110, right? And in order for you to sell me this put option contract, which gives me the ability to sell to you, right? You sell me this contract that gives me the right to sell to you, I will pay you $14 and $15, right? So let's say you make this bet, right? You buy a put option. Do you think the stock will go down or up? Yeah. Yeah. So I think if I buy this put option from you, right, it will mean I think the stock will go down. So this right here, this black line right here, that like starts off flat and goes up, this represents the put option, right? So let's say in the first scenario, the stock goes to $160, right? Would I exercise my put option to sell to you for $110?
No.
Why not, Chris?
But you lose money.
Yeah, because I can go to the market and sell for 160, right? Why would I bother selling it to you for 110, right? So how much money would I lose in that case?
14, 15.
Yeah, you will lose to $14, $15, right? If the price is higher than the strike price for a put option, right? So if I can sell it at the market for 160, right? I wouldn't want to sell it to you for 110, which is the strike price, right? I'll just let this option expire and I'll just lose the money I paid for you, right? But let's say this stock goes to $53.25. Would I exercise my option?
Yes.
Why? No. Let me, Igor, why would I exercise this put option if it goes down to 53.25?
If it goes down,
Mhm.
well, you'll be making money off that then.
Yeah, right? Because the market is trading at 53.25, meaning if I go to the market, I can sell for $53.25, right? But since I have this option, I can sell to you for $110 and you need to buy for me. Does that make sense? So, what's the most